The next question might be completely out of the topic, but how do you find the right product fit for your product or the market fit for your product?
Product fit. Wow. Wow. That's a question more for entrepreneurs. And I think it's a very good question. You know what? The number one reason why, one of the two reasons, top reasons why startups fail these days, it's because they do not get product market fit.
Especially startups. I want to add on to this is like, especially startups, because they have a very good product. Sometimes I see they're very innovative, and there's also vice versa case, which completely doesn't make sense. They come up with something which is not practical at all. And definitely they will struggle. But there is the other end of, on the other hand, there are people who come up with brilliant ideas, I'll tell you. And when we see them, this is such good idea, but you're not placing it proper, and now you're like struggling in the market, or somebody might steal their idea. There are n number of cases when they enter the market, they can this cut through competition, obviously. And in order to break this, you need an aggressive launch strategy. I feel that you need an aggressive launch strategy, and you have to come bang on, and it has to be all over the place at once. But yeah, obviously funding is definitely is needed for all this. But having having the funding in the back and having all the supports, still few companies, few people, few startup tend to fail this process of positioning the product in the right place, or even by finding the right market set.
So there are two questions here, the product market, and I'll talk about the launch also. But interesting idea, Deekshith. See, as far as PMF is concerned, there are few things which can... See, you need to first have a need for your product. How do you evaluate a need for your product? How do you know that your product... Because as you said, brilliant ideas. Everybody suddenly starts, you might say, one fine day in a party, or you're just having dinner, you're thinking, this seems like a great idea. Let's go ahead and build a product. It can be built in many ways. You have an idea or something, you just come up with a plan. But you need your first few customers, right? How do you get your first few customers, right? How many of your first few customers? I say few customers, it could be depending on the product, of course. It could range from 10 for a B2B enterprise SaaS kind of software to few hundred, or 500, even 1,000, right? Few thousand if it's a B2B or B2C consumer SaaS company. It could be any other, not even SaaS company, but any other product. It could be from 10 to 1,000, but the first set of customers, right? They're very, very important. And you need to, and I think as a startup founder, one of the biggest things apart from getting funding, I think the other most important thing is to be, know the pulse of the customers, initial customers. What are they talking about? What are they not talking about? What are they feeling about the product? And I think that is where looking at the data as well, and using customer surveys and understanding it also from a qualitative way as well, understanding both the quantitative and the qualitative feedback that you can get, and then deciding that, and if the first 1,000 customers retain, right, and if you lose customers, there's some problem with that. So there's your market telling you, those 100 customers or whatever, right, telling you that we like your product or we don't like your product. We like your product, but you know what, this could improve, right? Or your product is too pricey. I don't think it's going. I didn't find any need for the product. So all these are inferences you get from your first. So finding your first customers and then listening to the pulse.
In a way, it is a step that you have to follow initially when you're launching a product.
Very, very important. You cannot leave it to anyone.
Can we call this like, okay, A testing, B testing?
Yes. I asked you a launch. I'll do the launch. So this is at a very basic level what a BMF is, your product market fit, right? That's when you know that I have found my fit, right? Of course, there are many things that go beyond, and the scope is not enough for me to go into detail of that. But that's from a launch perspective. The key thing for a launch is budget, right? And I know we're talking about budgets when budgets are drying out. I know that every startup is like, how do I get the budget for my next round of funding? But launch depends on how much budget you have. You can go a big bang launch. You can go on NASDAQ and have Manhattan, or you can have the a video book there. You can go and sponsor the IPL, or you can do a very low, or you can go on product and launch it. Right? A launch is not depend. It's a budget, but I think for a launch, what you need to have is you need to kind of, again, the messaging has to be very clear, right? You need to know what your product does, right? So in 10 seconds, people should know what the product does. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, it should be clear. Your social media messages should be clear. Your email messages should be clear. everything that you're talking to customer, they should know what it does, right? That's when the best of products, launch well, right? It doesn't matter. You might need I'm not saying that you need a high budget to launch a product. You can do it with the minimal budget also, but it should be very clear who you're targeting, what is the message to target that audience, and provide the best experience.